And happy Monday, everybody, wherever you are in the world. And today I want to invite you to do something. Whether you follow me on Twitter at Kurt Mercadante, whether you follow me on Instagram at Kurt Mercadante, whether you follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, if you are listening right now, I want you, unless you're driving, to stop what you're doing and send me a message. Let me know that you are listening. I love hearing from our listeners around the globe. Someone sent me a message the other week, or actually last week. He's in the Caribbean. He said he listens to the podcast. It has changed his life and the way he has run and built his business. Messages like those let me know that we are fulfilling our mission here at the Freedom Club podcast, and I am so thankful and so grateful that you are here listening and or watching us. Now, today's episode is brought to you by my brand new live show on LinkedIn. It's the Freedom Club Live on LinkedIn. You're going to hear snippets from that live show here on my podcast. But that show, if you're not already following me on LinkedIn or connected with me, please do so today. Introduce yourself. Let me know that you are a podcast listener. But every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 12:30 to 1 Eastern will be Freedom Club Live on LinkedIn. We're going to feature current events, recent headlines. I'm going to talk about personal branding, entrepreneurship, building a life of freedom and fulfillment. We're going to feature interviews with special guests and take your questions. And we'll use snippets from that show here on the Freedom Club podcast. So if you are not already following me on LinkedIn, please follow me over there. I'd also like to draw your attention to my upcoming No BS Branding webinar. On today's episode, I talk about the previous webinar I had. We had 76 registrants for that webinar. It was a packed house. We had incredibly engaging, awesome questions. It's about building a brand that is sustainable. It's about building a brand that sells. It's not about simply getting likes, views, and vanity metrics. If you want to be a part of that webinar, if you want to build a sustainable brand that sells, please join that webinar. Go to kurtmercadante.com. You will get hit with a pop-up ad. Register for our webinar. And if you can't figure that out, send me a message on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And we are talking about personal branding on today's episode, and we're talking about superpowers. You hear me talk about superpowers a lot. Yes, I am a Gallup certified strengths coach, and each of us is born with those God-given talents. When you invest in them, you turn them into strengths. When you amplify them, you unleash your superpowers. And in today's episode, I talk about how unleashing your superpowers is a key pillar of building a sustainable personal brand that sells. And so without further delay, here's today's episode. So yesterday, I held my No BS Branding webinar. Again, we had 76 people register for it. I'm having another one April 29th. We had a lot of great questions. But I started off the webinar the way I start off a lot of my workshops. And then I asked a simple question. And that question is, who are you? And a number of people answered in the way that I knew they would answer. And this happens in my workshops as well. People answer that simple question, who are you, with a job title. They answer what they actually do at work, what they get paid for. Now, I don't say that to make those people feel bad. I say it because you did not come out of the womb with a name tag on that said, I'm Jim, I'm Jane, I'm a VP of sales, I'm a marketer, whatever it is. Who you are is not your job title. You are not simply a paycheck provider. Who you are is much deeper than that. You're a husband, you're a wife, you're a brother, a sister, a friend, a son, a daughter. You are much more than that. Who you are is made up of not only what you do, what you get paid for. I almost said what you do for a living, and I hate that term because living isn't just simply about work. It's about our relationships. It's about our interactions with others. It's about our self-care, our mental and our physical health. So when I ask you, who are you? Don't just simply answer with a job title. You got to go deeper with that. You have to define who you are as a person. You have to know your truth so you can live your truth and speak your truth. And as I've said before, over the past several weeks, that is where building a brand starts. If you don't know truly who you are, how can you ever build an authentic, a sustainable brand? And so that's where I started the webinar yesterday. And then we went into something very foundational to who you are as a person. and that is your superpowers. As you may know, I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach, and all of my training programs, all of my workshops, the foundation of those begins with unlocking your talents, those innate God-given abilities with which you were born. Because when you invest in those talents and you work them out every day like you would a muscle at the gym, you turn them into strengths. And when you combine those strengths with your knowledge, your skill, your passion, your experience, what you do best, what you love to do, when you do that every day and you amplify that, you turn them into superpowers. And a few weeks ago, you heard me talk about the importance of unleashing your superpowers to being truly productive. Well, guess what? Working in your strength zone, working in your superpower zone isn't just about productivity. It's not just about efficiency. It's not just about building an engaged workplace. Guess what? Your superpowers give clues to how you influence others and how others influence you. I'll repeat that. Your superpowers give clues as to how you influence others and as to how others influence you. Now tell me, is that important to building your personal brand? The answer is yes. How you influence others and how others influence you should be a key to your personal brand. So my No BS Branding Accelerator begins with the Strengths Finder assessment to determine not only those God-given abilities, but those things that come naturally to you, but how you influence others, how others influence you. For instance, I'm an activator. I like to go, 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 but I'm also a communicator. How I communicate to others, how I communicate to you, the passion that I have about moving, how I motivate others to action in my training programs, that goes directly to the heart of my superpowers. It's very foundational to who we are as people. So unleashing your superpowers, identifying your talents, turning them into strengths, and then unleashing your superpowers is key to building a brand. Because building that personal brand starts from within. Unleashing your superpowers, clearly defining your vision that pairs your purpose with the impact you want to have on the world, the impact you want to have on your customers. And you have to clearly and narrowly define who those customers are and the impact they want from you. That's the value they're going to get from your product or service. And then you develop a killer message that conveys that value to that customer. Then and only then do you start looking at the tools and tactics to deliver that message to that very specific customer where they live, not just physically, not just geographically, but also online. So these are all the steps that I cover in my No BS Branding webinar. We lead you through them and help you through those to build a personal brand that sells in my No BS Branding Accelerator, which you can learn more about at the link in this post by joining my upcoming No BS Branding webinar. These are some keys to building a sustainable No BS brand. And when I say No BS brand, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those people who have gotten several thousand views here on some LinkedIn videos, and so they call themselves a branding coach. And to them, it's about likes and views, but likes and views do not pay the bills. And yes, building that personal brand is about building a brand that sells.